हरियाणा की हर अपडेट के लिए बेल आइकन दबाएं और सब्सक्राइब करें STV हरियाणा न्यूज।
वहीं आरबीआई गवर्नर जनता को संबोधित कर रहे हैं, आइए आपको सुनाते हैं वो क्या कुछ कह रहे हैं।
Plus as reflected in net absorptions under the LAF averaged at about rupees 4.3 lakh 4.36 lakh crore during the period March 27th to April 14, 2020. As announced on March 27, the RBI undertook 3 auctions of targeted term repo operations, that is TLTRO, injecting cumulatively rupees 75,041 crore to ease liquidity constraints in the banking system and distress financial markets. Another TLTRO auction of rupees 25,000 crore is being conducted today. In response to these auctions, financial conditions, now this is very important, in response to these conditions, financial conditions have eased. I correct myself, in response to these auctions, financial conditions have eased considerably as reflected in the spreads on money and bond market instruments. Moreover, activity in the corporate bond market has picked up appreciably with several corporates making new issuances. There are also some indications that redemption pressures faced by the mutual funds have also somewhat moderated. Against this background, and as I mentioned that we have been constantly monitoring the situation after considerable internal deliberation and after monitoring the evolving situation, and in our effort to see that the financial system is fully functional, the markets are fully functional, we have in RBI decided to announce certain additional measures, and I would now like to elaborate upon them. Against this backdrop and based on our continuing assessment of the macroeconomic situation and financial market conditions, we propose to take further measures with the following objectives. 1. To maintain adequate liquidity in the system and its constituents in the face of COVID-19 related dislocations. 2. Facilitate and incentivize bank credit flows. 3. Ease the financial stress. And 4. Enable the formal functioning of markets. The first set of measures relate to liquidity management. The RBI has moved in a calibrated fashion to ensure conducive financial conditions and normalcy in the functioning of financial markets and institutions. The initial efforts to provide adequate system-level liquidity are reflected in sizable net absorptions under the reverse repo operations. With this achieved, the RBI has undertaken measures to target liquidity provision to sectors and entities which are experiencing liquidity constraints and or hindrances to market access. That is, they have a difficulty in accessing the market and they have difficulty of having adequate liquidity with them. LTROs, that is long-term repo operations, which we have undertaken. So these were meant to ensure adequate liquidity at longer end of the curve, longer end of the yield curve. Exemptions from the cash reserve ratio for equivalent incremental credit disbursed by banks as loans in certain select areas and targeted LTROs or TLTROs fall in this category. In this category or in this class and sector specific measures. It is observed that deployment of TLTRO funds so far has largely been to bonds issued by public sector entities and large corporates, especially in primary issuances. The disruptions caused by COVID-19 have, however, more severely impacted small and mid-sized corporates, including NBFCs and MFIs, in terms of their access to liquidity. So we have therefore decided to undertake what we call TLTRO operations 2, that is TLTRO 2.0. Accordingly, it has been decided to conduct targeted long-term repo operations TLTRO 2.0 for an aggregate amount of rupees 50,000 crore to begin with. Please mark my words, rupees 50,000 crore to begin with in tranches of appropriate sizes. Based on our assessment of the evolving situation and based on the pattern of utilization of this 50,000 crore by the market and in the market, it is always open for RBI to step up this amount beyond 50,000 crores as per requirement or as may be necessary to see that various segments of the market, various segments of the MFIs, the NBFCs and other institutions in terms of liquidity, they remain well lubricated. The funds availed by the banks under TLTRO 2.0 should be invested in investment grade bonds, commercial paper and non-convertible debentures of NBFCs with at least 50% of the total amount availed going to small and mid-sized NBFCs and MFIs. So therefore the emphasis will be to see that there is adequate flow to the mid-size and the small NBFCs as well as to the MFIs. The guidelines in this regard will spell out the relevant details. These investments have to be made within 1 month of the availment of liquidity from RBI, as in the case of the earlier TLTRO auctions which have been conducted so far. Investments made by banks under this facility will be classified as held to maturity HTM even in excess of 25% of total investment permitted to be included in HTM portfolio. Exposures under this facility are also not to be reckoned under the large exposure framework, and the notification for TLTRO 2.0 auction will be issued today. The next announcement relates to refinancing facilities for all India financial institutions like NABARD, SIDBI and the National Housing Bank. All India financial institutions such as NABARD, SIDBI and National Housing Bank play an important role in meeting the long-term funding requirements of agriculture and the rural sector, small industries, housing finance companies, MFIs and NBFCs. These all India financial institutions normally raise resources from the market through specified instruments which are allowed by the Reserve Bank of India, in addition to, of course, relying on their own resources. In view of the tightening of financial conditions in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic, these institutions are today facing difficulties in raising resources from the market. Accordingly, it has been decided to provide special refinance facilities for a total amount of rupees 50,000 crores to NABARD, SIDBI and NHB to enable them to meet sectoral credit needs. This will comprise of rupees 25,000 crore to NABARD for refinancing regional rural banks, that is RRBs and cooperative banks and microfinancial institutions. Rupees 15,000 crore will flow to SIDBI for on-lending and refinancing, and as you know, SIDBI will be lending this money to, by way of providing refinance to scheduled commercial banks as well as to other financial entities, NBFCs, MFIs, etc., who sanction loans to the MSME segment of the economy. And NHB will be allotted rupees 10,000 crore for supporting housing finance companies, HFCs. Now these amounts which I announced, that is totally 50,000 crore, of which 25,000 crore goes to NABARD, 15,000 crore goes to SIDBI and 10,000 crore goes to NHB. These amounts have been determined and decided in consultation with these institutions. Should there be additional requirement by these institutions, and again depending on and based on the actual utilization of resources provided, funds provided by the liquidity provided by the RBI, if there is a further requirement, the RBI will assess the situation, review it and take further measures to step up this level of liquidity support. Advances under this facility will be charged at RBI's policy repo rate at the time of availment. So these institutions get it today as per the repo rate, which is 4.4%. So therefore this will enable these institutions to provide the refinance at an affordable rate, at a reasonable rate, when they extend this money to various lending institutions. The next announcement, and this is very important, relates to the LAF, Liquidity Adjustment Facility, and this relates to fixed rate reverse repo rate. That is the reverse repo rate. As I have mentioned earlier, the surplus liquidity in the banking system has risen significantly in the wake of government spending and the various liquidity enhancing measures undertaken by the RBI. On April 15, the amount observed under reverse repo operations was 6.9 lakh crore. Earlier, what I had given about the system liquidity. That was net. That is the difference between the repo and the reverse repo. What I am now saying is one way of flow at the end of every day, how much flows from the system into the RBI through the reverse repo window. That has been in the order of
तो आरबीआई गवर्नर की प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस को आपने सुना। प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में बोलते वक्त उन्होंने देश की आर्थिक स्थिति पर भी नजर डाली। उनकी ओर से कहा गया कि प्रदेश में अनाज भी काफी ज्यादा है और जहां तक बात देश की अर्थव्यवस्था की, लगातार अर्थव्यवस्था